All right. Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Peabody. I'm a sophomore at Mount Holyoke College, and I'm also pre-med, a biology and East Asian Studies double major. So before I really start, I want to tell you guys what it's like to be in the Peabody household. My mama is Filipina, and my dad is from the US. My mom is a biochemist, and she works for a pharmaceutical company, and my dad is a doctor who's traveled all over the world. So as you can see, my life is pretty heavily biased towards the sciences. So biology and pre-med, they make sense, but what about Chinese? Like, how does that fit in, right? So as a matter of fact, I have been learning Chinese since I was born. I grew up in a household where my nannies could only speak Chinese and no English whatsoever. So from a young age, I learned how to talk behind my parents' back and be, somewhat of a trustworthy translator for them, especially when it came around to dinner time and I would refuse to translate for my nannies that I ate an entire box of Skittles. So at some point, I think my parents got tired of my antics, and so when I was 9 years old and my younger sister was 8 years old, her name's Jean, my parents bought a pair of plane tickets and they shipped us off to China for an entire month. In China, we lived with an old married couple and we went to a summer school there. The last time I had actually been to China was with my parents 4 years ago. But this time around, without my parents, I remember the first night being absolutely terrifying. My sister and I were sitting in bed, huddled up, and we're just like, the only thing we wanted to eat was watermelon, I think, at the time. I'm not really sure why, but we refused to eat that. And then it happened again. So we quickly became very comfortable with my parents not around. And so for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, for the entire month that we were there, we only ate sesame balls. So our host family was this really cute old lady who we called Grandma, or Nai Nai in Chinese. And then she every day diligently tried to persuade my sister and I to try many of the Nanjing delicacies that she made. Her husband, Grandpa, or Ye Ye, on the other hand, smoked probably a pack of cigarettes a day. And growing up, we always learned that this was really unhealthy. So we made it our month-long mission to try to break him of this habit. So when Grandma, went off to the store to try to attempt to feed us, we would sneak into her kitchen and steal her sauces, spices, and literally anything we could get our hands on. And then when Grandpa was taking his daily nap, we would steal his pack of cigarettes and hide in his room. There, my sister and I would create the most awful mixtures, such as toothpaste and ketchup, soy sauce and milk, strawberry jam and fish paste, like you name it, we did it. And then we would take our mixtures and we would cover the filter part of the cigarette with the stuff that we made. So when he would finally wake up from his nap, we would sit there and we'd watch him smoke this cigarette, hoping each time that, he would, spit it out. And, so my sister and I guess, never really seemed to figure out what the right mixture was, even though I think all of them were pretty nasty. But Grandpa, during the time that we were there, never stopped smoking. But after coming home after a few weeks, we get a phone call from Grandma, and Grandma's like, guys, guess what? Grandpa finally stopped smoking. So while I don't think my sister and I can completely claim, all the credit for finally getting him to quit, but I think our time in China, made him reconsider some of his decisions and try to improve his daily habits. So while I wish this was a good reason for medical schools to accept me, I know that this experience has stayed with me throughout my high school and college life. Going into college, I always knew I wanted to be pre-med, and I always knew that Chinese was going to be a constant in my life. So naturally, East Asian Studies, or basically Chinese, is my other major. At Mount Holyoke, I was able to place into higher-level Chinese courses as a first year and then have continued taking higher-level Chinese courses throughout my time, including Chinese in film, and then right now I'm in a Chinese in translation class. So during my remaining time in college, I plan to continue improving my Chinese so that one day after medical school, I can use my language abilities as a doctor to work with Chinese populations in the US or hopefully even in China. so that I can be of better service to others and make sure that my patients get the proper care that they need and they feel comfortable when they're in an environment where they can't speak English and I can be able to translate for them. So through my studies at Mount Holyoke and my frequent visits back to China, even after when I was 9 years old, I knew that if, a small little me, could make a positive impact in my grandpa's life, maybe there was so much more I could be doing with my passion for medicine and then combine that with my love for speaking Chinese. Thank you so much.